Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm now here to explore some lore based on the DLC that I've now finished for Elden Ring, and I'm really excited to do this along with you all. And yeah, so basically we're going to start with a kind of overview of the DLC, like the lore about it, and then there's plenty of other videos that deep dive a bit more into each character. So let me know which one specifically you think I should not miss out on. And yeah, let's get to it. And as always, I will link the video by Vati in the description. He is extremely talented and I love his lore videos, and I'm sure you all do too. So it's time to learn, and let's get to it. Okay.
I'm willing to bet that as soon as you entered this place, you knew that we were going to get some answers in the shadow of the Erdtree. And we have. There are satisfying revelations regarding Queen Marika, and Miquella, and the Omen, and dragons, and the gods.
St.
We
Trina.
even now know what Melania whispered to Radahn in this scene before her scarlet flower bloomed in Caelid. This video will only scratch the surface. It's just an overview, a teaser of new revelations and the foreshadowing of a deeper analysis
Let's
to come.
do it.
Let's get into it, and this time, let's begin at the end.
Oh, okay.
After you defeat the
this
final
boss.
boss, promised consort Radahn, on your 400th attempt,
The
you
400th
believed the
attempt.
remembrance of a god and a lord, which states, in their childhood, Miquella saw in Radahn a lord, his strength and his kindness that stood in stark contrast with their afflicted selves. The cutscene that plays here is a memory.
Lord brother, I'm going to be a god.
That's where he asks him to be his consort.
If we honor our part of the vow,
Dream hair. I said that in the actual.
promise me you'll be my consort. I'll make the world a gentler place.
And so Miquella made his heartfelt wish that Radahn would one day be his king consort.
King
Now,
consort, yeah.
this ending and the reappearance of Radahn has received a lot of early criticism, but I think this encounter
interesting.
does go a lot deeper than some people are giving it credit for. For example, we're hearing about Miquella's side of the vow in this scene and about what Miquella wants, but what about Radahn? What was his part of the vow? What did he want? There is evidence of Radahn being kind, sure, but this is also a man who celebrates war.
Yes.
Did he truly share Miquella's vision for an age of compassion?
That is a great
And if
question.
he wanted to be with Miquella, why did he fight so vehemently against his death in the lands between that would have brought his soul to the realm of shadow with Miquella? But the most chilling thing about this story, I think, is that even if Radahn did want to become Miquella's lord, and I can see that side of the argument too, to be fair, but even if he did want that, do Radahn's wants even matter? In the
Yeah,
face of
that's what
Miquella
I
kind?
assumed, is that his wants
As we
wouldn't matter.
speculated long ago, from items like the Bewitching Branch, Miquella has the power of enchantment over others. He has
Yeah.
the power to steal hearts. Literally, if you are embraced by him twice in
Yeah.
the final fight,
You
your heart is
give
stolen,
your-
and it's like a part of you dies.
You could do
Lord
nothing
of the
but
old order,
give
let us
yourself
go
to
together.
Miquella. Heart stolen.
This effect can also be seen in Miquella's faithful band, who overcome their differences and shortcomings to fight for Miquella's cause,
Until they don't.
until Miquella's enchantment is broken, and they turn at each other's throats. And what makes Miquella a fascinating character is that he isn't manipulating others for selfish reasons. His cause actually is righteous. When he wields love as a weapon, he does it genuinely to make the world a better place, without any intent to cause harm. However, such acts are still oppressive. If your want is taken away, what is left of you that remains?
Great question.
Perhaps the saddest example of this is Moog.
Moog, that's
who,
what I was
as we
saying,
speculated, was
he kind of
indeed
used
under Miquella's
Moog.
spell.
Once, in an attempt to free Lord Moog from his enchantment, I challenged tender Miquella, only to have my own heart rather artfully stolen. I knew not how weak I was. I believed that with sufficient mastery, even an Empyrean would be within reach of my blade. I could not have been more mistaken. Miquella the Kind is a monster, pure and radiant. He wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men. There is nothing more terrifying.
Wow.
In the specimen
Nothing more
storehouse,
terrifying
you
is-
can
that
find
goes
the
hard.
secret rite scroll, which details the secret rite by which Miquella will ascend to godhood. It reads, "A lord will usher in a god's return, and the lord's soul will require a
Yes,
vessel."
did read that.
Ansbach reveals Miquella's plans in full.
After Lord Moog's slaying at his dynastic palace, it appears his body has been absconded with and taken straight to Kind Miquella. As if using Lord Moog to gain entrance to the Land of Shadow were not enough, he plans to use his corpse as the vessel of his king consort.
But he thought it was
has
going to be
forsaken
him that was going to be the
Lord
king
Moog's
consort.
soul.
So-
He desires only his empty shell.
In your fight
Yeah,
with Radahn,
he didn't want
you might
it
have
to be
noticed
Moog.
the horns sprouting from his gauntlets.
It's kind
and
of sad.
his tendency to perform blood flame attacks. This is because Radahn occupies Moog's body, fulfilling the terms of the secret rite at the Gate of Divinity, where
Oh,
Miquella
right.
will become a god.
So he had that power
In
from Moog's
retrospect,
vessel.
Moog was under Miquella's spell all along and became obsessed with Miquella, believing that they would ascend together
Yeah.
as Lord and God. But Miquella had plans for Moog, not just as a corpse to pull into the realm of shadow as a vessel for Radahn's soul, but as Ansbach reveals, Moog was also used as a means for Miquella to enter the realm of shadow in the first place.
Took him out
A
of
while
where
back, I speculated that the realm of
Millennia
shadow was a sort of
last
death
saw
dimension,
him.
and that Miquella's sacrilegious death at the hands of Moog might have been intentional so that Miquella could enter the realm of shadow, and
Right.
actually, surprisingly, those speculations were proven correct as well. Ansbach confirms that Moog enabled Miquella to enter, and the Tower of Suppression makes it clear that all manners of death wash up in the realm of shadow, which lies at the very center of the lands between.
Right.
Incidentally, Radahn's return also answers one of the biggest mysteries of Elden Ring, which was what Melania whispered to Radahn as she let the rot flower blossom at the end of their fight. According to the young lion's helm, she whispered, "Miquella awaits thee, O promised consort." And so Melania's southward march to Caelid is finally explained as well. She was there to kill Radahn so that his soul could be taken to the realm of shadow and the vow could be upheld.
But if Millennia
at any
knew
cost.
about that, she wouldn't
Once
have waited
transported
at
to the
that
realm of
place
shadow,
where
Miquella set
she
off
thought
for
Miquella was
the tower.
cocooned.
And as his great rune says, on the way he abandoned everything. His golden flesh, his blinding strength, even his fate. All in this attempt to bury the original sin, to embrace the whole of it and be reborn as a new god.
Miquella has said as much himself. He wishes now to throw it all away.
I love the
He says
Christ-like
the act, though undoubtedly
parallels.
painful, will sear clean the Erdtree's wanton sin. The truth of his claim can be found at each cross. It is evidence enough to earn my belief.
But what was the Erdtree's sin that Miquella died and was reborn for? Well, now we've talked about the end, this brings us to the beginning.
Miquella the Kind spoke of the beginning. The seduction and the betrayal. An affair from which gold arose. And so too was shadow born.
with
These
gold
words
comes shadow.
come from Leda, and while she never says them in-game, they're pretty damn important, because with Marika in the footage, it's clear that this was her seduction and her betrayal. That was the affair from which gold arose and shadow was born. The The same music that played in that moment also plays here, in the village where it all began, the shaman village, to the northeast. At its center is this, a minor Erdtree, an incantation which reveals that this was Marika's home, which she one day bathed in gold. So, Marika's home was a shaman village.
Yeah, she
The
was just
implication
a
clearly
shaman.
being that she herself was a shaman. This was likely a matriarchal society of other Nuban women,
Right.
though that's perhaps speculation better left for another video.
Makes sense,
Put
though.
simply though, a shaman is defined as someone who has influence in matters of the spirit.
Yeah.
Their spirituality is what's valued here.
Spiritual powers and
It's
influence.
on this point that this story takes a bit of a dark turn, for the message at the hidden entrance actually reads, "Have mercy for the spirited away shamans." Adjacent to this message is the statue that moves aside at the sign of the "O Mother" gesture in Messmer's Shadow Keep. This emote is a clue to the truth, and it actually leads us all the way down here to where the "O Mother" gesture can be found.
Okay.
This dire place is called Bonnie Village, and
Oh,
a phantom at the whipping hut here elaborates on just who the shamans were, or rather, the value they had. He states, "For pity's sake, your place is in the jar. Nigh sainthood itself awaits you within. For shamans like you, this is your lot. Life were you accorded for this alone." So the shamans,
They were
in the
made to
words
be
of their
put into the
abusers at
pots.
least, were accorded life for a singular purpose, and that was to be stuffed inside of jars
So
with
cruel.
others. A nearby whip, bestrewn with rotting, misshapen teeth, elaborates on how and why it was used on the shamans.
Nasty.
For one, it states that the pain it inflicts was used to encourage their obedience, but additionally, it says that as their wounds ripen, they grow inflamed and ooze pus, and the flesh of shamans was said to meld harmoniously with others. So it is that the shamans stuffed into jars become this living amalgam of beings,
Gross.
presumably with the flayed shaman herself at the fore.
Mm.
So now we know what happened to the
Interesting.
shamans. They were whipped into submission and forced inside of jars. We know a little bit of the why as well. Apparently it was done so that they could become saints. But the next question I
From
want to
their
answer
original
is,
sin of being
who
born, I guess, as a
Who
shaman.
did this to them? Well, it was the Hornsent.
Oh.
The caterpillar mask, worn by Hornsent himself, reveals that it was a ritual implement of the greater potentates of Bonnie Village, which is this
Potentates,
very
right,
village where we
okay.
just discussed the evidence of the shaman's abuse. It goes on to state that the mask was used to ward off thoughts of impurity, doubt, temptation, and other wickednesses one is vulnerable to while absorbed in divine ritual. And man, if you need to ward off thoughts of doubt and wickedness while you're stuffing
a
flayed
human
people
being.
inside of jars,
Yeah.
maybe what you're doing is just straight up wrong.
Excellent.
I'm
I could
starting
not
to
have put that better
understand
myself.
why Marika
Excellently
purged
put.
the realm of shadow with fire. It's as Letta says.
They were never saints. They just happened to be on the losing side of a war.
But if this mask wasn't proof enough of the Hornsent being responsible, look at Ballarat Jail. It's below Ballarat itself, which was the settlement of the Hornsent, and to this day the innards and the
So that's the
shamans
settlement
remain,
of the Hornsent.
with
I didn't know
the
that.
shamans offering their prayers to the innards of the great jars, such that they might be reborn one day into sainthood. But what is sainthood? Well, it's never explained directly.
Okay.
I do have some ideas, but they might have to wait for another video.
Interesting.
What we do know is that the Hornsent were obsessed with invoking divinity, and
Right.
forcing the shamans to achieve sainthood was likely one facet of that.
Jeez.
So,
So messed
It's the
up.
Hornsent that we need to discuss next.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
The
please.
Hornsent are an extremely ritualistic people,
Yes.
with swaths of their culture devoted to spiritual research and invoking the divine. And one of the most sacred things to them is the crucible, which they have to thank for their tangled horns, which are considered an evolutionary gift.
Right.
If you didn't know, the Crucible has been long established as this primordial form of the Erdtree, a blending of life that became the Erdtree's primal vital energies. And apparently, it originated in the place that became the Realm of Shadow. This becomes quite clear thanks to Devonia, who is the longest serving of the Crucible Knights.
Yeah, the first one.
According to her helmet, she quested in search of the Crucible's origin and departed from the lands of the Erdtree alone. Another item we can find that's a clue for the Crucible is Spira, an incantation for a spiral of light. The spiral, it says, is a normalized Crucible current that, one day, will form a column that stretches to the gods. Maybe it's no coincidence that the White Tower of Ballarat is a spiral,
shaped.
nor that it culminates in a divine gateway that is a column of the dead stretching to the gods.
Damn.
There's also trees that include the dead, but I digress, I'm getting off topic.
Everything had
Back to
like,
Marika, because at some point it seems Marika rose to prominence within or adjacent to this Hornsent culture. We can kind of infer this
despite being a
because
shaman.
Hornsent refer to Marika's eventual purge as a betrayal, and something can only really be a betrayal if you were aligned with them in the first place, right? So the Hornsent were aware of Marika, and likely her Erdtree as well, before what they call the betrayal. But how? How did Marika rise to such power in their homeland?
Yeah, if she was just a shaman.
Was presumably a shaman.
Yeah.
One of those subjugated. Well, before there was this betrayal, there was a seduction from which gold arose, and I think the fingers had a hand in it.
Okay.
I fear that you have borne witness to the whole of it.
Finger
The
mummy.
conceits, the hypocrisy of the world built upon the Erdtree. The follies of men. Their bitter suffering. Is there no hope for redemption? The answer, sadly, is clear. There never was any hope. They were each of them defective, unhinged from the start.
With the
Marika
fingers.
herself, and the fingers that guided her.
Yeah.
And this is what troubles me. No matter our efforts, if the roots are rotten, then we have little recourse.
Ymir is the high priest of Manus Meta, a cathedral of the hand to the east. Once he instructed R'hllana herself in the sorcerous arts, but eventually he would come to abandon this allegiance to the moon, stating that the moon was merely the closest of the celestial bodies, and nothing more.
Wow.
I am a glintstone sorcerer. We study the stars and examine the life therein. Are you familiar with our findings? Long ago, we began as stardust, born of a great rupture far across the skies. We, too, are children of the greater will. Is that not divine? Is that not sublime? And yet,
I love his
none
voice.
can fathom its implications. Its utter brilliance.
In the ruins of this land and
Whoever
beneath
voiced him,
Manus Meta
love that.
itself are the echoes of that greater truth that Ymir glimpsed. This is Meta herself, the mother of fingers. Her remembrance reads, "The mother of all two fingers and finger creepers was in turn a magnificently gleaming daughter of the greater will and the first shooting star to fall upon the lands between."
Nasty.
You might recall the Elden Ring and the Elden Beast made landfall in the lands between upon a star as well, but
So this
Meta
was the first one.
came even before that. So it was that this mother birthed the fingers, communing with and receiving signs from the greater will,
Yucky.
who occupied the great beyond. But at some point, Meta became broken, abandoned, and no sign has come through ever since.
Do you recall
She lost
what I
her
said?
touch to the greater
That
will.
Marika and the fingers that guided her were unsound from the start.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the truth lies deeper still. It is their mother who is damaged and unhinged. The fingers are but unripe children, victims in their own right.
It's not clear when meta was broken,
It was
abandoned,
clearly
but I assume
before.
it was before Marika started taking the guidance of the fingers,
Or at
since
least before
Ymir
she
states that the fingers
created the
were
other two fingers.
unsound from the start.
Yeah.
Thus, the Greater Will's guidance is outdated at the very least,
Yeah.
and has been for all of Marika's reign.
Yeah, from the very
That's
beginning.
a pretty big revelation. Incidentally, Placidusax was also Elden Lord before
That's how you
Marika,
pronounce it. I
and
didn't know that.
he was abandoned by his god as well, so
Yeah, his
maybe
outer
things
god.
became broken around that time. Lots of speculation.
Everyone being
behind
abandoned
that.
by their outer god is what
At any rate,
drove them kind of
abandonment by
mad.
greater will or no, Marika took up the power of the Elden Ring that the fingers offered for her own reasons, and the abandoned fingers spread the glory of the greater will through her, and she through them. Another important item on this topic is the ancient seed talismans that can be found, which depict the two fingers around an Erdtree seed. They had a hand in the birth of the Erdtree.
Right.
All this
They had a
while,
hand.
the fingers claimed to be envoys for the greater will, but that's a lie. The greater will is gone. The fingers
Yeah, they
are
haven't had a
alone,
connection to them for
operating
ages.
on outdated guidance. This is something that many characters suspected, but most characters in Elden Ring assumed that this happened around the time the Elden Ring was shattered.
Yes.
It's a revelation.
They did all
that
imply that
the
it was
fingers
only when
have
it was
been
shattered.
broken for a really long time.
It's
And so
always
the
been
tarnished
disconnected from the
too
greater will.
is alone,
Mm.
following this guidance of
I like
grace that now likely only belongs to Marika herself, if anyone. And Marika might have played friendly with the Hornsent for a time, but eventually she had
always
what
wanted to get
was surely
revenge.
vengeance.
Yeah.
When the
For her
Hornsent were
people.
purged, subjugated, and betrayed.
Mhm.
The realm of shadow became this disconnected domain of death, and the shadow tree that looms high became the realm's symbol of abandonment, not grace. Before she left,
Damn.
Marika bathed the village of her home in gold, placing a small illusory tree that restores the health of those nearby. She did this knowing full well that there was no one left to heal,
Yeah, I was about to
Then
say, was that
she
before or
left.
after
never to return.
it was empty?
Not even for her son, who she left behind to endlessly enact her subjugation of the realm of shadow.
Okay, Messmer, let's
So,
go. Let's
next,
go into his...
Let's talk about Messmer,
Uh-huh.
the Impaler. As anticipated, Messmer is entirely loyal to his mother, who is Queen Marika. His armor reveals that, on his mother's wishes, Messmer made himself a symbol of fear,
Yes.
undertaking the cleansing crusade she desired. And in the end, all those stripped of the grace of gold would perish.
Yeah.
In the embrace of Messmer's flame.
To this end, he had his Black Knights, Fire Knights, and common infantry, not to mention the Carrion forces who followed R'hllana into war on Messmer's behalf.
Yeah.
So it
Even
was that
she
the
worked with
Hornsent were
Messmer.
purged in a war without end. A phantom at Castle Ensis bemoans, "O Marika, I beg, embrace your child, and give us a sign. How long must this holy war stretch on?" But Marika never returned, testing
Yeah.
their faith.
Abandoning
One phantom
them,
even raises the possibility
like the greater
that
will abandoned
Messmer
them.
himself has been abandoned.
It's a never-ending cycle of
He
abandonment.
has. The final straw for him is when you, a tarnished who would become Elden Lord, arrives at his doorstep.
And can see the golden light, but he can't. He was mad. He was mad. He ripped out his own damn eye.
Not suffer. Our Lord, devoid of light. No, Mother. Forgive me.
Thank you. Not watching that again. Nasty. Disgusting. himself could not see the golden light.
Soon tarnished. Wilt thou be taken in the jaws of the abyssal serpent, shorn of light?
Abyssal serpent, shorn of light.
Like his siblings, Messmer was born cursed. In fact, the game likens his curse to Melena's, who is heavily implied to be his younger sister. Messmer, too.
Because I knew Melina
was
her mother was.
We learn this
Marika's.
from the item Messmer's
She's related to
Kindling,
Messmer.
which describes the fire that endlessly burns within
That makes sense.
a dark thing, eaten away at by a wicked serpent. His remembrance elaborates on this serpent, stating, "A malevolent snake writhed within Messmer, and so his very mother plucked out his eye and put in its place a seal of grace."
So he could see
I was
grace,
wrong
but he
about
couldn't
this eye.
really.
It wasn't the slitted eye of dragon communion. Instead, it was Marika's seal of grace.
Right, I
holding
didn't even
back
think of
something
that.
terrible.
Yeah.
The description continues to state that even with this seal in place, Marika's fear compelled her to secret away her child within the realm of shadow, hidden away, keeping company with the original sin, and a hatred that would not be confined. There's so much more to say about this base serpent and the dark fire.
She let her kids to have horrible fates.
Messmer. We even learn from Gaius's remembrance that Messmer was an older brother to Radahn, meaning Messmer's birth, and thus the birth of Melina as well, likely would have arrived much earlier in the timeline.
Interesting.
And
so he
there's
is
a ton of
directly
curiosities
related
with
to
Messmer's
Radahn.
knights as well, some of
And
whom
Ranni
were
and
loyal,
Rykard.
some who were disloyal, and some of whom occupied this space of reluctance in between. But
I did connect him to Rykard because of the serpent.
In the interest of moving on, there is one last thing I want to talk about with Messmer, and it's that in the cut dialogue, Messmer notes that Miquella has spoken of us to him, and indeed we do know that Miquella did come through this shadow keep, divesting himself at the crosses all the while, which brings us to our next topic, Saint Trina.
Saint Trina, I want to learn more about her. I know very little.
Is a piece of himself,
comparatively,
marked with his great rune, arms, an eye, flesh, but there's a couple of crosses in particular that I remember as a part of what was an extremely chilling moment. As you progress along the coast towards the fissure, you notice that Miquella has divested himself of his doubt and vacillation. Without these things, he was free, it seems, to abandon something that was very dear to him. And inside the fissure, at what is perhaps the deepest part of the land in the realm of shadow, we realize that Miquella has actually divested himself of his love. A phantom says, "Kindly Miquella, I see you've thrown away something you should not have under any circumstances. How will you salvation offer to those who cannot be saved, when you could not even save your other self?"
Yeah, so
his other self
couldn't be the god he wanted to be.
Was Saint Trina.
Couldn't be the god he wanted to be
Miquella,
because of this.
One of Marika's kin, having a second self is nothing new, really.
Marika.
We've now even learned from the shamans that their flesh melds harmoniously with others, after all. Actually, the fact that Saint Trina was able to be discarded might even suggest that Radahn could have become divested from Marika in a similar way.
She discarded him.
But Miquella's other half was truly special, and she was renowned for granting peaceful sleep to many in the lands between, which I imagine would have been very much appreciated.
Yeah, for these souls that are endlessly suffering.
The weary undead.
Yeah.
So Saint Trina naturally had many followers, and perhaps at the fore was Tiolier, whose obsession with Saint
He
Trina
was obsessed.
returns almost immediately when Miquella's enchantment finally breaks.
I'm feeling rather lost, haunted by memories of St. Trina, her visage, her scent, the lure of velvety sleep. Would kindly Miquella chasten me for falling for St. Trina, while knowing that she was the discarded half? The problem is, I simply cannot help it. I would sacrifice everything just to gaze upon her one last time.
Saint Trina is below, defended by a putrescent knight who is basically tainted flesh once given eternal rest that now serves Saint Trina.
So he was given
Died enough
peaceful
times
sleep, but
to
then...
Saint Trina's nectar, and
Yeah, girl, how many
you
times
will
I died
hear
of that
her words.
damn thing? So annoying.
Miquella, stop. Don't turn the poor thing into a god.
She knew without her being connected to him,
Would be
yeah, it would be a
Miquella's
prison.
prison. A caged divinity is beyond saving. You must kill Miquella. Grant him forgiveness.
All of this makes you realize that if godhood really would be Miquella's cage, as Saint Trina believes, then it really might have been Marika's cage as well.
It obviously
It echoes
was.
what the Saw Seals suggested long ago, that solemn duty weighs upon the one beholden, not unlike a gnawing curse from which there is no deliverance.
Yeah, because you can't
In
return
the
from
end,
godhood.
Marika's caged divinity is likely a part of why she shattered the Elden Ring. And so Miquella's divinity would surely come at a cost to him. He would essentially be sacrificing himself to bring about that gentle age in the name of everybody who would fall under his enchantment.
But he wouldn't
And
necessarily be able
this
to do
enchantment
it
is a tendency that Miquella
without
regains
Saint Trina,
when
that
he
part of him.
returns in full force as a god, because once charmed by Miquella, a circlet of light adorns your head, and according to the description of the circlet of light, which you receive after Miquella's defeat, this enchanting circlet would have been the foundation of Miquella's Age of Compassion, not the Elden Ring. Presumably, in his age, all would be charmed. But Miquella found one that would refuse to be embraced. You. No wonder, as one god and one king consort is all the world needs. And you're the chosen Elden Lord of a different age, whatever ending that may be for you. So
Ranni.
naturally, you would have refused to be embraced. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to me, even with my nasally COVID voice. Sorry about that. Before I go, Displate currently have a limited time sale for 27% off your first Displate and 37% off for any Displates after that, and you'll get that deal just by clicking the link below. I've commissioned a new design to celebrate Shadow of the Erdtree. This one is called Eclipse, and it's this gorgeous black and white illustration commissioned from Nico Delort. This one has a lot of Easter eggs and references hidden within it. How many can you find?
Cool.
And if you're looking to pick up a few more Displates to make use of that discount, check out my other store offerings as well. I love commissioning these designs, and Displates are honestly great, convenient products that just make any space more interesting. So check that out. And again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more Shadow of the Erdtree lore, because I've really barely scratched the surface here today.
Oh yeah.
I really had to restrain myself from going deeper into all of these topics.
But I will join him.
In the interest of providing a concise overview of all of the lore, and I didn't even cover all of the lore. It was still tough. Honestly, the most fascinating content is yet to come. I still want to talk about how Bale, the new dragon in the DLC, is actually the father of the Drakes, and how he had a war with Placidusax. I wish I had time to talk about the Abyssal Forest and Midra's Manse.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about him too.
And then there's Godwin,
He was
whose
cool.
story we can actually say has come to a conclusive
Yeah,
end,
and
just
how-
by virtue of the lack of new information
And
we've
how
received on him.
they never,
There's
Miquella
so much
never
more to
intended
every
to
single
bring
thing
him
I've
back,
talked about
seemingly.
today, and I encourage you to go through the item descriptions and seek these answers yourself if you're interested, because ideally, you know, I won't be the only source of information that you go through. Support other creators, think critically about all of the content you consume. But thank you for watching mine, and I look forward to exploring all of this with you.
I
in
do
the months
too.
to come. Look for another upload soon. Cheers, guys.
Rest in peace, Ansbach, my hero. That was Lore Revelations in the Shadow of the Erdtree, and it was fantastic. A great start to experiencing all these points that we have come to learn since the DLC, since finishing Shadow of the Erdtree. And don't worry, I am going to be exploring more in depth of these characters and learn more lore through that, because the story really intrigues me and I love it. And I mean, I kept my own like journal of keeping up to things and keeping myself as aware as possible of these characters and their intentions and what it likely meant. And yeah, from ages ago, I did know that Melina, who I'm dressed as, was a daughter of Marika somehow. And now I know that I guess she's related to Messmer and technically also Radahn, Rykard, and Ranni. So that's fascinating as well. I knew that my love for Melina was like that. It was really close, but it was Ranni that was my romantic love, and then Melina was like my sibling almost, because she would have been my sister-in-law. But yes, so that is really fascinating, especially about why Miquella chose Radahn instead of, not necessarily instead of, but just speaking to Millennia. He used to say that he wanted to bring Godwin the Gold back and that he didn't deserve to die and things like that. But that was clearly not part of his intentions and things like that. So I don't know. I'm very fascinated, and I really, really enjoyed the lore that I experienced in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. So we're going to deep dive further into that. Thank you so, so much for watching. Like I said, please be sure to let me know which videos you think are unmissable and I do need to experience lore-wise. And yeah, thank you again for being on this journey with me. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!